At the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Dr. Sharoni Shafir is doing pioneering research on the gambling habits of bees.
Human beings are very much like bees in how we make decisions and how we take risks.
So in a lot of these things, we're finding it. Now, another interesting thing is that bees are very smart, as you know, and they learn quickly and they make a lot of decisions. Their life depends on that. Humans, of course, too, but in human classical economics would attribute people being kind of the rational man, the rational person, what they were supposed to do, what's the normative thing, the right thing to do. And a lot of models are based on that. When people actually started testing people, how do you do it in fact, make decisions, more in behavioral economic, cognitive psychologists, they found out that in many situations, people are not rational.
No, we actually make decisions based on emotion or a whole bunch of other things.
A lot of other things, right.
Yeah.
In fact, Danny Kahneman and his colleague Amos Tversky got the Nobel Prize for that, kind of pushing that into economics. And then we asked, what about bees? Now, bees, you'd think, they don't have things like emotion,
right, so they're
peer
always
pressure.
doing the right, reasonable thing.
That was the idea. But when you test it on bees, you find that they're just like people, doing irrationalities. So I'll give you another example of a context dependence. With people, there's experiments where, like in consumer research, if you go to shop for a camera, say, and there's some more cheap, say Minolta camera that has basic features, or slightly more expensive Canon camera with a bit more features, and you're not sure between the two, which is, it's not clear what's better. What does the salesperson do if they want to sell you the Canon? They say, hey, wait, if you're not sure, look, I have this other Canon. It costs, $4,000, much more expensive. And it's the 2000 Millennium edition. It has, this extra little thing that you really don't care for. Now, nobody buys that camera. But what it does is now they say, oh, well, relative to paying so much for this one, I can pay just a little bit more for this one. So the other Canon becomes more attractive. That one is the decoy. You put a decoy that people don't really like, but it makes the other one perceived to be more attractive. And people switch their preference, which is not rational. And with bees, the idea is that they should know, how much something is worth. But when we do these kind of experiments with bees, and you do it with flowers. So
you can decoy them too.
Yeah, so we have two flowers. One gives a bit more sugar, one less sugar, but one takes more time to handle, one less time, so they're not sure between the two. And then we add another flower that's very expensive in terms of handling and doesn't give you more sugar. So the bees don't like it, but now they go more for the one that was in the middle.
Wow, so you're like a really good salesman.
Exactly.
You can sell the bee on a certain flower.
Now we can do it, and people do it in supermarkets and so forth. Now the idea is if it works on bees in the same way, then flowers should have picked that up evolutionarily, and they should be playing that game with bees. Bees are consumers in the flower market, and the flowers are competing for getting the bees to visit them.
Fascinating.
And so this will really be the next step to see how much of this really is going on in flower strategies to play on the perception of bees. But that's really my thinking is really to look at the little brain here of the bee, which is less than 1 million neurons. But for one thing, the decision that this bee makes is a third of what we eat. Because if she doesn't like avocado, we don't get avocado. She doesn't like apple, we don't like apple. So and she's free to fly. It's not that I can bring her and make her go to that crop. And so really want to understand her decision making and what makes her, and how can we push her to like something more or less. It'll be on you, okay?
It'll be on you now.
Yeah. And
so as you understand these creatures, you're obviously the application to human decision making is very interesting.
Right, so to human decision making and to applied agriculture.
Thank you so much for talking about bees. I've learned so much.
Sure.
It's very, very cool.
Cancer specialist Dr. Shulamite Katsav Shapira is a professor of biology at the Institute for Medical Research, Israel, Canada, at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. She discovered a gene that triggers a normal body cell to turn into a cancerous cell. This discovery might help cure cancer.
Professor, you are doing some cutting-edge research here at Hebrew University on the issue of cancer and how it gets transferred. Tell me about this gene that you discovered and you got to name. What is it called and how did you find it?
Okay, this gene is called VAV, which stands for the 6th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's VAV, so as I said, you can read it right to left, left to right. You can be an Israeli or any other nationality to be able to read it. And also genes are called by 3 letters, so it's okay.
And what's unique about this gene?
It was discovered as a transforming gene, which we call oncogene, which has the capacity when you put it into a normal cell to transform it to a cancer cell in the lab. And when we discovered it, it wasn't very clear what it does, so we started looking more at its normal function. And soon enough, we found out that it's only, it codes for a protein that's only expressed in the immune system. And in the immune system, it functions as we call it a signal transducer protein, which means it gets signals from out of the cell and transfers it to the nucleus, which is the brain of the cell. And there it orders the cell to do different things. It can change its morphology. It can lead to transcription or to generation of new genes, production of new proteins, and so on. And it's very important because we know that in mice that are deficient of VAV, which can generate genetically, there's no immune response.
So this gene is really important, but when it in a sense mutates or this protein gets activated, you can see cancer developing.
What we see in the recent years that we find it expressed in tissues where it's not supposed to be, which means it's out of control.
So something is aberrant. It's what is making this thing shift and transform that way so cancer starts?
Oh, we don't know.
But that's the key. That's the magic.
That's what we're trying to find out, why suddenly it starts to appearing where it's not supposed to be. And when it's not supposed to be, in tissues where it's usually aberrant or it's not there, absent, it starts affecting the regulation of the cell. It adds up to other abnormal things that happens in the cell.
Because I've seen pictures where you showed me of mice and other where the tissue grows really large, but then when you take the valve away, it's not, the cancer gets reduced.
Yes.
So if you could do that with humans, control VAV, this protein, you possibly could prevent cancer or at least reduce cancer.
I think you're right. I think it has been shown so far by us in lung cancer, and it has been shown in pancreatic cancer, which everybody knows these 2 kinds of cancers are very bad for people. And if you reduce the expression, which we can do genetically, you can reduce the malignancy of these tumors.
Wow.
Of course, this is still only in the making in mice, and there's a long way between mice and men. We know we're different.
I'm standing in the lab where this protein, this VAV, this special little thing that you've discovered has the potential in a few years, maybe, to really help us understand, to treat and reduce cancer and tumors in human beings. And you're the one at the cutting edge of that. Thank you so much for having a conversation with us. All the best in your research.
More P3 coming up next.